What's cracking, guys? David here from Prime Audio Reviews. Today we have the Hifiman Sundara planar magnetic headphones. We are ready to take our first look, so let's get into it. Boom. You get a owner's guide with some nice photographs. It's a good quality booklet, but for now we'll skip that part. Here we have a warranty card, some protective foam, and inside here are the headphones. In this nice satiny kind of material here. Silica gel. Here we have a cable with a 6.35mm adapter on it and the native 3.5mm adapter. I heard some complaints about the cable, but it doesn't look too bad. It's a bit rubbery, but we'll look more into that later. And here we go. Here are the headphones. Doesn't appear to be anything else in the box, so you don't get a whole lot. Basically you get the headphones, the cable, and a 6.35mm adapter, and that's it. Some quick specifications before we go any further. We've got a frequency response of 6 Hz to 75 kHz. That's pretty impressive. An impedance of 37 ohm. Sensitivity is 94 dB. And the weight is 372 grams. And they actually feel quite light. Here are the grills on the side. Got a sort of a crisscross pattern going there. You got a metal band going across the top, leading to this plastic section, which is the adjustment sliders. That's quite tight. Left and right markings on the inside. Oh, that's quite stiff. So they shouldn't move around on your head once you adjusted the size. You've got this rather wide leather or faux leather headband on the top, which should work quite well to alleviate any pressure on the top of the head, keep things comfortable. Now down here, this part here is metal again. Feels very strong so far. I have heard things in the past about Hifiman's build quality, but these appear to be pretty sturdy so far. As I move them around, there's no creaking or squeaking. It all feels very nicely put together. You might notice there is no side to side, there's no pivot movement there. They do swivel up and down this way, but there's no side to side movement, so we'll find out later on how that affects the comfort. On this part of the ear pads, you've got a porous fabric, and on the outside is a faux leather material. They feel light. I can't wait to try these on and see how they sound, how they feel. As always, I will go and do that. I will be back in a few days' time to talk about how it was. See you soon. Yeah, so I love the way the Sundara fits on my head. The ear cups in the ear pads have a fairly low profile, so they don't stick out too much. Just to put that into perspective, here they are side by side with the Brainwaves HM100, which admittedly are enormous, but you can see just how much difference there is there. Like these things, they look quite ridiculous, to be honest. They are comfortable. I do like this headphone. but the Sundara is in a different league. There's no doubt about that. One complaint that I do have, which you've probably heard already, is that these adjustment sliders are very stiff. And you know, if you did that a few times back and forth, it would probably loosen up a bit. But right now it's very stiff. It takes away a little bit from the premium feel that the headphones have overall. But apart from that one thing, I just love the build. They're light, they're comfortable, they look good, kind of industrial, utilitarian, but just fabulous. I really do like it. Talking about sources, I tried these with the Topping DX7, which is a great DAP. I tried them with the Arcam IR DAC 2, which I liked more than the Topping, just because the silky signature of the Arcam DAC works really well with the tuning of this headphone. As far as portable sources go, sounds fabulous with these headphones. For regular use, my favorite was the Shamling M5S. Just works really well with the Sundara. You might expect that, given this has a fairly neutral signature, and these have, they're not neutral, they're kind of even across the spectrum. From the bass to the mids to the treble is fairly even. I'm not going to say balanced because people get confused. I'm not going to say neutral because people get confused. This is not a neutral headphone. You definitely have boosted areas, but for the most part, from the lows to the highs is a fairly even line. It's fairly linear. And keeping that in mind, I expected that the M5S might sound a little dull, but wow, this is such a good combination. Very musical, it's so engaging, it sort of had me tapping my feet, it had me singing along, all that kind of good stuff. So, yep. But otherwise, they don't require a lot of power. They do work quite well with most apps that I tried. I also tried these with the FIO K3, the little desktop DAC, which has a bass boost, and I can say that the Sundara responds really well to the bass boost on the FIO. Normally I'd keep it off. I'm happy with the amount of bass that they have already, but something to keep in mind. Several other reviews said that the Sundara was a little bit cool sounding or a little bit bright, but I wouldn't say cool. There's definitely some warmth in here, because it does have a rich sort of low end. The lower mid-range and the bass are rich and earthy. So I wouldn't say it's cool, but the treble is up there with everything else, so it does give a hint of brightness. But like I said, everything is fairly even across the spectrum. So yeah, maybe a little bit on the bright, but I am sensitive to treble, and these do not bother me at all. Like some headphones, like the Acoustic Research ARH1, these have a very detailed sound, but they are quite forward in the treble. Like when you hear a song and you're like, oh, that's my jam, let me pump that up. With these, you're like, oh God, sorry. They can be a little bit harsh if you pump the volume. The treble is definitely more prominent on these. The bass is very fast, of course. The Sundara does have a thinner driver than the previous HE400 models, but you can read up more about that online. I'm not going to talk too much about the technicalities of the headphone. I'm more into the user experience and the sound more than anything. but the bass is fast, it's very controlled. The bass level is fairly moderate. It's more than enough for me. I love the way, actually, I'm really happy with the bass on these headphones. The bass extension on the Sundara is very good. But you will hear the sub bass more than you feel it. They don't have a really strong deep rumble, but the notes are there. There's not anything missing per se in the sound, but it doesn't have that sort of physicality that a lot of dynamic headphones, dynamic driver headphones, or some bass ear tuned headphones have. Like I said, the mid-range is fairly much in line with the bass and the treble. The tonality is really nice. It's not completely neutral. There is a hint of color that sort of fills out the mid-range a bit and gives it a bit of body. But the openness and the soundstage, the large soundstage, sort of prevent it from becoming too intimate, even though it is colored a little bit, but it just works really well. The tonality sounds natural, sounds very earthy and organic. The resolution is really good, it's very nice, as is the instrument separation. It's fantastic because of the speed of the planar drivers. There's plenty of space between instruments. You won't hear a lot of micro details, but the macro details are very good. The treble extension is very good. Treble is accurate and the timbre is really nice. It's fairly energetic as far as treble goes, but there's no sibilance. It's not harsh. If you really crank the volume, depending on the music you're listening to, it might get a little bit edgy, but I am treble sensitive myself and I have no problems whatsoever listening to the Sundara at all. It really suits my preferences very, very well. In closing, I'm very impressed with the Sundara. To me, these are smooth, there's enough warmth coming from the low end. The lower mid-range has some coloration and some body. The treble is crisp and very clear, but it's not forward, it's not pushed too far forward. It's not harsh and there's no sibilance. Overall, I love the sound of this headphone. So if you are looking for something around the $500 mark, absolutely, definitely recommend these. There are not a lot of other planars in the price range that will give you the same type of performance. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you have a planar headphone? Have you tried the Sundara? What do you think? Is it too expensive? Is it too cheap to be considered a true audiophile headphone? Let me know in the comments below. And until the next video, see you later.